Hey everyone, so today we are diving into a tool that is kind of quietly solving one of the biggest, most persistent headaches in the entire Kubernetes world, storage. Now, this isn't some flashy new platform, but it's something way more practical, and honestly, it's turning a lot of heads for all the right reasons. If you've ever wrestled with Kubernetes, this quote probably hits a little too close to home. I mean, that feeling, the endless config files, the provider-specific plugins, those late-night debugging sessions just to get a simple volume to mount, it's a shared pain that so many of us have felt. And that really gets to the core of the problem. Trying to wire up storage in Kubernetes, especially if you're working across different cloud providers, it just feels like you're trying to navigate this impossible maze. You're constantly juggling different plugins, totally different ways to authenticate, and these super complex configurations that change every time you switch environments. It's a mess. But what if you could just sidestep that whole maze? What if there was a single, consistent way to connect your Kubernetes pods to pretty much any storage backend you could possibly dream up? Well, the answer comes from a tool that supports over 50 different storage backends. And yeah, we're talking about everything from the big ones like S3 and Google Cloud Storage, all the way to SFTP, and maybe even that old legacy system your company keeps saying they're going to migrate one day. And that brings us to the Rclone CSI driver. The whole idea is just so simple, but it's incredibly powerful. Just take the trusted, battle-tested command line tool, Rclone, and use that as the engine for a universal Kubernetes storage driver. And the key thing here is how practical it is. This is not some big venture-backed platform with a huge marketing budget. Nope. This was built by a developer who just got completely fed up with all the complexity and decided to build a fix. The result? One driver to rule them all, giving you a consistent way to talk to dozens of backends. But the real magic here isn't just that it uses Rclone, it's how it uses it. This is so much more than just some simple script calling a command. The implementation is actually, well, it's pretty elegant. Just look at this comparison. It makes it so clear. On the left, that's the old way. A total mess of different drivers, each one with its own weird quirks and ridiculously complex YAML files. Then on the right, you've got the new way. One driver, a consistent configuration that uses standard Kubernetes secrets and storage classes. It just cleans everything up. And here's a really key technical detail. The driver doesn't just shell out and run the Rclone command. It actually integrates Rclone as a native Go library. Now this is a huge deal, because it allows for a much cleaner, more robust integration directly with Kubernetes. It's what unlocks cool features like dynamic provisioning and VFS caching, which basically keeps your most used files in a local cache for way faster performance, right out of the box. And you know what? The results really do speak for themselves. When a seasoned Kubernetes user, someone who has seen it all, describes a storage tool as simple, consistent, and effortless, you really have to pay attention. Words like that are, well, they're incredibly rare in this ecosystem, and they carry a ton of weight. So, of course, any new tool like this has to face a trial by fire, the community. As soon as it dropped, developers started poking at it, asking all the tough, practical questions to see if this thing was really as good as it sounded. So, one of the first really sharp technical questions that came up was about CSI ephemeral volumes. Now, this is a more advanced Kubernetes feature that lets you define a volume right inside a pod's spec, which is just perfect for temporary data that, lives and dies with the pod. And the creator's response was, well, it was perfect. It was exactly what the community wanted to see. Instead of overpromising or making stuff up, he was totally transparent. He just said, hey, I haven't implemented that yet, but I'll definitely look into it. That kind of honest, grounded communication is exactly what builds trust and credibility in an open source project. And then the conversation took this really fascinating turn. A developer from a completely different, pretty niche project called Nix CSI jumped into the discussion. And this tool does something totally wild. Instead of mounting storage, it mounts entire Nix software environments directly into pods. So it's basically providing all the libraries and binaries you need on the fly. This whole interaction was so revealing. I mean, even though the two drivers solve totally different problems, the conversation just showed that there's this shared hunger in the community for more flexible, more composable ways of getting data, any kind of data, into pods. It really feels like the Rclone driver is part of a bigger movement. So inevitably, the conversation turned to that one question that every single storage solution has to answer. Okay, that's great, but what about performance? How fast is it really? And again, the answer was just so refreshingly honest. No sugarcoating at all. While, yeah, formal benchmarks are still on the roadmap, the community was quick to point out that Rclone's performance is already proven in really demanding enterprise workflows, like media processing. The big takeaway was that features like VFS caching can make a huge difference, but you've got to test it for your specific use case. This lack of marketing spin just makes the project feel so much more trustworthy. Okay, so let's zoom out for a second and look at the big picture. Why is this relatively simple tool resonating so strongly with so many experienced developers? The answer is actually pretty simple. Developers are tired. We're just tired of the complexity, tired of the provider-specific quirks, and tired of all the hacks. We just want a consistent, sane, reliable way to mount data. And this tool, it delivers exactly that. It really does feel like the missing puzzle piece. Rclone is a utility that countless developers already know, already use, and already trust. So applying its power and flexibility to the Kubernetes storage problem, well, it's one of those ideas that is so simple and so effective, you kind of wonder why nobody did it sooner. The project also has a super clear, user-driven path forward. The roadmap isn't being dictated by some corporation, it's being shaped by the real-world needs of its users. Things like better docs, real benchmarks, and support for more advanced features. It's got a really healthy future ahead of it. And that really gets to the core of it. The Rclone CSI driver isn't trying to reinvent storage. It's a pragmatic tool that's just smoothing out a very rough, very annoying edge that developers have been stumbling over for years. And you know what? Sometimes that is the most valuable kind of progress there is. It really makes you think, doesn't it? In this world of ever-increasing complexity and abstraction, what other major problems are just sitting there waiting for someone to come along and apply a simple, elegant, and battle-tested solution? Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.